My name's Joan Naylor, and December 22nd, 2015, my life was changed. Oh, by the way, this is dedicated to my wand. My heart ripped apart. I read the author Elizabeth Gilbert's words, and I wept. And I read them again to my husband, and we wept together. The question Liz Gilbert asked is, during our time in history, what kind of people will we be? We all know the story of Anne Frank. Would I have been willing to hide a Jewish family and risk my life and my family's life? If tonight a pregnant woman knocked at my door from the Middle East with her husband and asked for shelter, would I take them in? We must look deep in our souls and ask, are we willing to stand up for humanity? Liz Gilbert calls us now to stand up for 65 million refugees, half children. We read Liz's words and our hearts were broken. And then we donated. We read them again and we bought tickets to France. Where we worked, we volunteered on a trash dump where 10,000 refugees lived. 1,000 unaccompanied children, starting at the age of 8 alone. At the refugee camp, we handed out blankets and dry socks, underwear, coats, food. Thousands of refugees lined up. There was never enough. We taught English lessons, we listened to their stories, and we wept with them. Here are the lessons we learned. In America, before we left, we learned many friends and family were fearful for us, fearful of the refugees. They said, aren't you afraid of them? Aren't you afraid some could be terrorists? The refugees were running from the terrorists, ISIS and the Taliban, who had killed family members, who had destroyed their homes. They were afraid of their government, of Russia, England, and American governments who destroyed their cities. So to save their lives, they fled. The refugees taught us courage and real love. A Syrian father, mother, 2 children walked across the Middle East, across the mountains in winter, through the Balkans, through Europe, until they reached France. 4 to 5 months of walking, 1 child was paralyzed. I said to the father in astonishment, how did you get here? And he motioned. And I said, no, patted his son, paralyzed. How did you get him here? And he said, I carried him. People taught us courage. They taught us true love. People had rotting feet, trench foot. We learned dry socks, shoes, and coats could save a life. People were starving. They shared one outhouse for 300 people. No toilet paper, no showers. We learned deep despair from the children, walking to the grocery store when the police stopped them and took their phone and stomped on it, and that was their lifeline to home. When they took their shoes and said, next time it will be your pants and your shirt, get back to camp, where at camp often they were tear gassed. We were afraid during 6 days of violence when 5,000 shelters, tents, plywood shelters were destroyed. The French riot police marched forward. The hired demolition crew destroyed half the camp. And I learned faith. As I stood sobbing at inhumanity over those 6 days of violence by the French government, a man approached me and said, it's okay. Allah sees all, and comforted me, it's okay. He taught me real faith. He taught me courage. The refugees taught us joy in the midst of misery. Author Elizabeth Gilbert asks us, in this time in history, our time, what can we do? What can we do for 65 million refugees? We can be their voice. That's why I'm here tonight. Read their stories, even though they're painful. Please, I beg you not to scroll past them. We're called to share their pain and then be their voice. Speak up to those who label all refugees as them, as terrorists. Some of our leaders promote fear of refugees and divide us. Be their voice in America. Volunteer. America's borders are closed to many refugees, but we can go to them. Andra and I are leaving January 30th. We'll spend a month in Greece at refugee camps and half of March on the Serbia-Croatia border. We can share with you how to get involved. And if you can't come with us, then you can take your love, we can take your love with us. Donate. Allow us to respond to crises each day. In the French camp, with the donations we had received, we bought shoes and socks, underwear and diapers, food, and the list goes on. Each day I blog so people could see their love donation in action. And pray. Pray for the refugees. Pray for the volunteers. During those 6 days of destruction, prayers literally carried us. Liz Gilbert's question is, during our time in history, what kind of people will we be? Let's stand up for the refugees. Liz says each of us can be the light and that love wins. Thank you.